Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever the case may be, wherever you're tuning in from, to this live stream of Redfellas. Redfellas, that's on a random night every week, but we're working our way towards some level of consistency as good as the Mighty Reds. We will get there one day, but we are here. So thank you all for joining us today. As you can see, I have an elite panel of some familiar faces. Of course, I've got Cav with me. Cav, can I, before I ask how you're doing, I need you to ask me how I'm doing. And there's a reason behind it.
Go on, Grizz. How are you today? How are you doing?
I am so grateful for life. I survived a mini asteroid attack today.
Okay, right. I didn't expect that. I'm not going to lie. Go for it.
Not many people do. Not many people did, and not many people do. But today, I was in the middle of a mini asteroid attack. Now, anyone who it was in the area of Berkhamsted, please, can you deny or confirm this? There was a mini asteroid attack. Some people claim it was hailstones. I do not call them hailstones. They were mini asteroids. But I survived to tell the tale and live the dream of talking about Liverpool. It was fucking insane. It was mad. Like the hailstones were like golf balls, man. It was crazy.
Are you serious? Because you're down that way. I'm in the Midlands. I didn't see the weather's been fine around here. I didn't see any hail. Nothing.
Oh God. Please check the weather reports around Berkhamsted. First, probably you lot thinking, where the hell is Berkhamsted? Berkhamsted is in sort of Watford type area around there. Yeah. But anyway, how are you, Cav?
Nah, I'm pleased you made it. Yeah, stay indoors now, Grizz. It's not safe for you out there. Just stay in. Talk Liverpool. Keep safe. Yeah. Nah, I'm good. I'm great. Busy start to the week. But everything just feels a lot easier when Liverpool are winning. We keep saying it. You know, could say the same thing every time we do this show. But no, I'm good. Feeling positive. Feeling good. Looking forward to the rest of the week and the games we've got coming up. Looking forward to speaking to you guys about Liverpool. And just a really another positive step in the right direction for us towards getting that league title. So feeling good, hopefully looking good. Yeah, we're doing all right.
Good. Thomas Little joins us as well today. Thomas Little, I have very rarely seen you with your locks flowing. Like you have hair and the hairstyle now. Like,
I know.
How would you describe that? Because I always like to have a youngster on the show as well, a stream to like sort of give the youngsters version, the hip version. So how would you describe your hairstyle right now? And I'm not putting you on the spot.
My hairstyle right now is like the Emre Can at centre back phase, or the Gini Wijnaldum at centre back phase. It's doing a job. It's doing a job, and if it performs, it might get a longer run. It could be the Fabinho at centre back if you want to go for that. If needs must, if it performs, it might get a longer run. But for now, it's just doing a job right now. It's doing a job.
Fair play, Khurram. Before
not gonna lie, it's not how I thought the stream would start. I'm not gonna lie to you. You caught me off guard. You know, usually we get into these things. We start talking football. You're talking about hailstones, hairstyles. Okay, all right.
Listen, variety is the spice of life. Who wants to just only talk about football on a YouTube show? Come on, guys. Get with the times, guys. Get with the times. I mean, look, loving the curtain. I'm thinking, man. Throwback Mondays, Khurram says. And obviously, big up Pixelated Pigeon. He says, big up the Redfellas. Smash the like button. He's not wrong. There's 100 of you already camped in here. Appreciate the love and support as always, but you know the house rules. Every time you go into a house, there's always certain rules that you abide by. We're not asking you to take off your shoes or anything like that. We just want you to hit that like button, and that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing, and it's very, very easy to do. And of course, making his debut on my channel, very, very, very warm welcome to Andy. Andy Bell, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, Grizz, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm glad you've not come to me with the hair chat, because if Tom is Emre Can at centre half, I'm very much James Milner at 38 years old on his way out. So yeah, very jealous of you guys on here. But no, thanks for having me. Delighted to be on. Always nice when the Reds win. And yeah, we're getting close to the finish line. I'm starting to get very, very nervous. It's dominating my thoughts through the day, in work, at night. I'm waking up thinking about it. I've never celebrated a league title in my life. Obviously, we had the one during COVID, weren't able to properly celebrate it. And now we're looking like we're getting within touching distance. So it's very exciting times.
You say touching distance, and we will get upon that because I may have done a controversial claim a couple of weeks ago where I started the countdown from 12 wins. It's now down to 10 wins. And people are saying my maths ain't mathing. Like, how have you worked out 10 more wins needed? But we'll get into that maybe later on in the show. Cav, I survived asteroid attack. And Ipswich thought they were in the middle of an asteroid attack at halftime as well. It was one of those performances from Liverpool that we've been very calm, collected, controlled this season. We've spoken about sort of a different type of Liverpool from the gung-ho, the heavy metal of Jurgen Klopp. But that first half was a bit of a reminder that we can also do quite a bit of damage when we're on top of our game.
Yeah, and we did just that. You know, and not to get into the details, but bar conceding a goal, it was the perfect day for us, really. You know, 3 o'clock kickoff, the sun was shining somewhat. You know, the famous Reds against Ipswich that are wearing blue. We're controlling the entire game, made it look easy at times, showing a bit of confidence, showing a bit of flair, getting the goals. You know, it was just a cruise control performance, but so important because it's 3 points at the end of the day. The application was so key going into that game because we've seen that Liverpool are capable of beating everybody. We seemingly are beating everybody, but sometimes when we play these sides that are a bit lower down in the table, it feels like the application might not be quite on it, and we might take our eye off the ball a little bit, maybe a bit overconfident, maybe too relaxed at times. And I thought that we would go into Ipswich, as I'm sure we all did, and expected us to win, but I wanted it to be as easy as we made it. I wanted it to be comfortable. I wanted it to be a game that we could look to rotate late on and stuff, and seemingly just made it a formality, you know, which it should be at home, you know, and that's the way it panned out. And in that first half, especially, like you say, Grizz, we were just on it. The touch was there, the tempo there, was sharpness was there. Everybody was having a good day, and we managed to get some goals. So the first half was great. I think as good as it was, there were a couple of occasions where Ibu in particular was playing like a long ball, and I was like, we don't need that. We don't need that today. Just, you know, keep the ball on the ground, keep playing. There's chances here for us. And we can talk about the first goal because that was Ibu's pass on the ground into Szoboszlai in space. And then he went and did what we'd all been hoping he would do so much more this season, is get the ball in that area. Don't always look to play it out wide. You're in a position, go and be a threat. And that's exactly what it was. So it was a fantastic start to the game because it just set us on our way. We didn't have to worry about the clock ticking. We didn't have to worry about trying to do something different to break this low block down. We'd got the first goal. That set the foundation for us to go and play with confidence then. And we did exactly that.
Tom, do you know what it is? We often talk about sort of, well, there was a little bit of chatter before the game about rotation and sort of the team selection. I didn't understand it myself. I thought we'd be at absolute full strength for this game. Be honest, was you one of those ones that was claiming? Because I will check your tweets, son. I will check your tweets. Was you one of those asking for rotation or resting of anybody? What was your state of mind going into this game?
It was just about getting the job done. I could sense kind of what was going to happen because obviously Ipswich were coming off the back of losing 6-0 to City. So it would have been a very typical thing of Liverpool to struggle at points in the game, and then people start panicking because City could smash them. Why can't we? This, that, and the other. So I wasn't too fussed about anything. I just wanted us to go out there and get the 3 points. You know, because we were playing at the same time as Arsenal as well. I really wanted us to make sure we were putting the pressure on them to get a result out of their game. So I wasn't really too eager for rotation, especially with the PSV game on Wednesday, which is about as dead rubber as you can get. So I was pretty happy with the team. Ultimately, it was the best case scenario because we played the starters, had the game boxed off for 45 minutes, and were able to take off the majority of them and give them probably more rest than they would have had if they had to come on chasing the game for the last 30 minutes. So all in all, that was pretty fine. And even the ones who came off the bench, I know the game was pretty much done by then, but there was bright moments and stuff. That there's very little, if anything, to complain about in that game. I think it's the probably most dominant 85 minutes I've seen from a team in the Premier League this season. Ipswich had one shot up until the 85th minute, and it was a long-range deflected effort which Alisson had to lie on the floor and catch. So it barely counts as a shot, if anything. So yeah, it turns out that Arnie Slot knows a little bit more about Liverpool and football and than a lot of other people on Twitter, myself included, who were thinking, maybe this is a game for Harvey Elliott. So fair enough. I'm just glad we got the 3 points, and we done our bit on the weekend to make sure that we stayed in the position that we're in.
Yeah, Andy, looking at the lineup, as I said, I was expecting a full-strength lineup. Obviously, a couple of decisions that are always kind of coming up now is probably the fullback area, especially the left-back area, I should say. And obviously, centre-back always depends on Konate's fitness. But if Konate is fit, he starts. The left-back issue, we can have maybe a mini conversation about. And apart from that, it's always if Jota's fit, he probably would start. Or are you of the opinion now that Slot does favour Luis Diaz in his strongest 11, even if Jota is fit?
Yeah, the team selection is interesting at the moment. You start with that midfield, and you really think that they really are the three that we have going forward now. 2 months ago, I would have said if you're playing a European Cup final tomorrow, you'd have played Curtis Jones over Szoboszlai, because Szoboszlai was just frustrating the life out of me at that time. He certainly wasn't playing the way he's playing at the moment. Certainly in the last 3 games, he's just been insane. But he really has nailed down that number 10 slot as far as I'm concerned. I feel really sorry for Harvey, who seems to play really, really well every time he comes in. But I think Klopp sees them both in that number 10 role and nowhere else. And unfortunately, the way Szoboszlai is playing, Harvey just can't get a look in at the moment. On the left back side of things, I have to be honest, this season I think they're probably much of a muchness. The way Robertson's playing, we know that Tsimikas certainly has a rick in him. And I think that's just going to be a little bit horses for courses going forward. I think in a game like Ipswich, you probably just favour the tried and tested in Robertson. But for example, jumping ahead to the weekend, Bournemouth are very weak from set pieces, so that just might swing it in the favour of Tsimikas, because my goodness, Robertson's delivery from dead balls has been hard to watch at times this season. As has our delivery in general, to be honest. I think we're right down there, 27th percentile in terms of set piece deliveries. And then up front's the interesting one, and that's the one I can't really call, and it's the one we don't really have a significant body of evidence on, because, like you say, Jota is injured so much, constantly picking up little niggles. And, Luis Diaz hasn't played magnificently every time he's played there, but I do think the rotation of those three and the fact that they're, if nothing else, very hard to mark, very hard to pick up, probably edges it towards Diaz at the moment. I don't think either Diaz or Jota necessarily do to a T what Arne Slot wants from a centre forward. Nunez is probably in the mould of that, but unfortunately I think the quality of the performances he's putting in means he can't really be an option there from the start. So I think that's the one at the moment where I couldn't call. If Diaz and Jota are both available, I couldn't really call it. Left backs, horses for courses. I think the rest of the team has to pick itself.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that's the way it is. But that's the way it should be as well. You should have a spine, a core of players. Every great team has a core of players that start every game. I'd say 7/8. You go through every great team. It has a 7 or 8 core. And then you should always have either it's horses for courses or sort of competition for places with the other three. Cav, as Andy says, one of the players that has been frustrating in the past but has come into his own is one of my favorites from last year. I made a very early call. Foolishly, I was young at the time. 18 months ago, I was very young, remember? I've aged in 18 months. And when you're young, you make foolish calls. But it wasn't foolish. It was just a bit of banter and a joke. But people, obviously, you know what social media is like, jump on every opinion. I called him the Hungarian Gerrard in game week 3, I believe. For me, that was the closest performance to a young Steven Gerrard that I've seen in a long while. we can go straight into Szoboszlai because he opens the score ring with a typical Gerrard-esque goal, and I'm going to keep referencing Gerrard because it's my show and my channel, so I can. But great start, great goal. Just the kind of goal that you need against a team that is going to be very, very defensive, low block. Just got smashed 6-0 by Man City. The kind of coach that he is, he's all about reputation, and he's got a good reputation. He doesn't want his reputation ruined in a matter of 2 games. But my God, we put an end to all that after a couple of minutes. Where's Szoboszlai?
Yeah, and like in the first game of the season, I think it'll be fair to say that Delap did cause problems with his physicality and his movement, and we had to respond to that. Kwanzaa obviously struggled a little bit with that, and he makes the change at half time to swap him out. He goes with Konate in today's game because that's the best centre-back partnership, I think, in world football at the moment. He'll want to play Konate as much as possible, build on that relationship with him and Van Dijk, but also partly to deal with Delap. But besides that outlet for Ipswich, they don't have much else. I mean, Hutchinson's a decent little player, but they've not got a lot of pace to burn on the wings. They ain't going to leave somebody up top. It was quite clear from going into the game and from the outset that they were going to sit back and they were going to try to frustrate Liverpool, and rightly so. You know, we've seen the few teams do that and get some success against Liverpool by having that low block. It was then so crucial that Liverpool made sure that they didn't fall into the same traps that they're fallen into before. And a key part of that is the person playing in that number 10 position. And I said before, when we just mentioned him, that often Szoboszlai can pick up the ball in really good areas, you know, on the edge of the 18-yard box. But I feel like sometimes, whether it's bravery, confidence, I'm not sure what, but he'll opt to give the ball back out wide to Salah. And he always makes that run into the box. He always works hard. He always tries to create an angle. He tries to receive the ball again. But I feel like he should take the onus on himself a bit more to try and put that delivery into the box, to try and get that shot away, because we've seen that he's capable, and provide that additional threat out of our forward 4. And it was so good to see that he picked up the ball in that central area. He clearly had the options out wide, but he opted to use a really nice bit of skill, a touch, to come back infield onto his left foot, which is the key part, because I think that threw the whole Ipswich side off their trail of thought, because I think instinctively they think he's just going out to
Salah or Trent. Yeah,
exactly. And then hold on a minute, he's just chopped onto his left. And no one's pressing him to stop that shot. Well, no one expected him to do that. That's why. And then, you know, the finish, from the angle I was watching it, I thought it was a bit of a slipper foot shot, but it turns out it wasn't. It was perfectly accurate into the bottom corner. You know, the keeper dives, but can't quite get there because of the level of accuracy in the finish. And obviously, you're so pleased that we're able to get the early goal. We've not conceded first again. I think we conceded the first in 3 games in a row, or 3 games at Anfield. I can't remember what they said, but it took away that worry of maybe Liverpool going to get frustrated in this game for not being able to break down a low block. That early goal is so crucial, but also so crucial to Szoboszlai, because that's what we've been asking. I think a lot of us want him in our side. A lot of us appreciate the work rate, the amount of times he recovers the ball back, the amount of positions he covers for our teammates. But actually, he does find himself in these positions. So contribute more. You're capable. Just show it, you know. And it was great for us and great for him that he was able to get that opening goal. And he deserves it, to be honest, off what's been some really good recent form. And to be honest, Grizz, there's still time with him that, who knows, he might still become that Hungarian Gerrard. And performances like that are not going to harm that shout. Grizz, you muted, Grizz.
I'm unmuted, but it's probably best I am muted sometimes. It says blessing, guys, from, and then there's a flag. Can someone help me out? Because geography was never my strongest subject. Which country's flag is that? Anybody know? Andy, you should know.
It's not come up in my chat here. It's the emoji's just a load of letters. So sorry.
Yeah.
Thomas, you should still be just come out of education. You should know.
I've also got 4 B's and a square. So
help us out.
Absolutely useless. But we have been reliably informed. It is actually Barbados. So amazing. Thank you very much for joining us from Barbados. We are international, as everyone knows. So that is very humbling. But it's very embarrassing from my side because I didn't know what it was. But you guys,
We can't see it. We can't see it. It didn't come up.
I could. I'm not going to make an excuse. I could see it.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Yeah.
I just didn't know what it was. Yeah, I just didn't know what it was. Johnny B. Red says, great guests. Yep, they are indeed great guests. Tom, yeah, I'm not going to stop the Super Dom chat for a little while because there's a lot of chat around around slots formation this season, and a lot of the chat is a lot of people are trying to figure out if Slot plays with a 10. Is Szoboszlai Slot's version of a 10? Because he's not a conventional 10, and is he an attacking 8? What is your version of Dominic Szoboszlai's position in reference to how Slot wants him or sees him?
Dominic Szoboszlai is problem solver. You can put him in.
Problem solver.
If he needs to put him to lead the press, he'll put him a little bit further forward and have him in that front line. Because to me, it looks like Arnie Slot. He has 3 systems, but we haven't really used like the last one. The main setup you'll see is either a 4-4-2, or well, it's now lopsided, isn't it? Where it's like 4-3-3, but with Gakpo dropping back into the midfield line and Szoboszlai going right up front alongside the striker and Salah. Or when you're playing Nunes up top, we'll defend in a 4-1-4-1, leave Gravenberch on a bit of an island, but commit McAllister or Jones and Szoboszlai into a high press with the 2 wingers tracking the fullbacks. The fact of the matter is Dominic Szoboszlai can do either job in that system. If you need him to go into the front line, lead the press and create, he can do that. If you need him to be a little bit more of a reserve midfielder who's about holding shape and being more, controlled with the press, he can do that. For me, he's the guy that Arnie Slot puts in to set the tempo off the ball. We look so much more at it. We look so much more aggressive. We look so much more vicious in a press when he's in that starting 11 because of just how he leads it and the quality he's got in the press as well. That can't go understated. Pretty much every player in the world can just run at someone. But the way Szoboszlai does it to close off passing lanes whilst doing it and the speed.
Hi, Jordan. But hey, that's not a dig at Jordan Henderson, one of the greatest captains of the modern day era. I'm just saying. Yeah.
But it's really something impressive to see, and I think that's why Slot's been waxing lyrical about him, especially in after that Ipswich game, because I think that was where a lot of people really sort of realised it. But he's been doing that all season. It's just sometimes. People forget Szoboszlai's still young as well. He's only like 22, 23. That end product, consistency with the end product, should I say, that'll come in time. But it's not like he's got no goals and assists this season. I'm pretty sure he's got close to 10, if not 10. Which, if you're considering Liverpool midfielders in the past, that's a very high number for the past decade. Certain midfielders would go 3 seasons without getting assists or 3 seasons without scoring. So it's a nice little change, but I think you saw on Saturday the best of both worlds of Dom Szoboszlai. He scored a goal. He was fantastic creatively. He done that lovely little combination in the midfield where he took this dropping ball out the sky and then done this backheel flick over 2 defenders straight to Gakpo. That's a lad playing with confidence, but he didn't let it affect his defensive work. And I said before, we limited the Ipswich to 1 shot inside 85 minutes. You don't do that if you're midfield slacking off the work. It would have been very easy at 4-0 up to just decide to, well, we've won, we can chill out now. No, everyone that was on that pitch kept working hard. So I think that's why Arnie Slot was so positive about that performance, on Saturday, because there was not a single weak point in it. Everyone worked hard. Everyone pulled the weight, and Dom Szoboszlai, I believe, set the tempo for that as his problem solver.
Problem solver, Andy. Young Thomas says. What does a slightly more experienced head say? I mean, we're looking at the average formation, the average positions, I should say, sorry for the players. And it's pretty much how that first half went, right? I mean, that was exactly it. We saw Ibu and Virgil literally on the halfway line, and the whole game being played compressed just attack wave upon wave. And for such a congested half in terms of playing in the who were we playing? We were playing. What was the team's name? My mind's gone blank. Ipswich. Considering we were playing in Ipswich's half, the amount of space our players and individuals were getting was weird and strange at the same time. I mean, I wasn't complaining. Why do you think we were creating so much space and havoc whilst the other team was pretty much 10 men behind the ball still?
Yeah, I think that is down to Szoboszlai. I think Tom's absolutely right. We've extolled the virtues of Szoboszlai all season in terms of the press, and we press with a 4, and it is Szoboszlai who's right up there every time when we're running at the back 4 or closing down the midfield, and he is great at that, and he's always been great at that, and he's always done that really, really well. And when I've been critical of him, it's that kind of I expect my 60 million midfielder, this star boy that we signed from Leipzig, must be up there with our sort of top 5 signings of all time in terms of the money we paid, top 5, maybe top 10. I just expected a little bit more quality. And, I was the same as you, Grizz. When he first came in, I was doing the Gerrard comparisons because it looked in those games like he could do everything to 7, 8 out of 10 or above. And then I think we massively overplay him and he comes back, and whether we rush him back or whether he's still a bit tired from what he put into the first half of the season, listen, it was a common theme with Liverpool last year that legs fell off and the quality wasn't quite there towards the end. This year, I'd sort of felt that it had continued a little bit for Szoboszlai. So while the running was there, while he fitted the system very well, while the manager very, very clearly liked him a lot, it still felt like balls were bouncing off his knee and bouncing off his neck. And it looked a little bit Emre Can at times, which is the lowest praise I can pay anyone because I couldn't stand Emre Can, actually. And all of a sudden in the last 3 games, it's just flipped on its head. He's a different player. And not so much Saturday, but certainly in the last 2 games, he seemed like a completely different player to what I thought we were signing. I thought we were signing this sort of pretty boy, nondescript attacking midfielder who can sort of play right, centre, but nobody really knows his position, but can come up with these moments of magic. And what we saw against Forest and against Brentford was this gritty, determined, physical presence that almost carried that midfield by itself. Obviously, in both of those games, transitions were massive. Forest were one of the best counter-attacking teams in the league. Brentford were very much leave the 2 up front and ping balls to them. And he was so crucial in those. And I was sort of thinking, well, I'm not really sure if the oppositions have suited Szoboszlai here or if he's made improvements within his own game, but he was a completely different man to what I've seen all season. And then Saturday's different, isn't it? Because you're right, they have 10 men behind the ball. They're trying to use the wingers, they're trying to use the lap, but they can't get into the game, and we're really compressing it. And in those games, you don't need a sort of gritty, physical, determined performance as much. You need that little bit of quality, that nimble touch, that touch of class in those attacking areas. And he did that time and time again. And the best example, obviously, is the goal where he takes it a couple of times and hits one with the left foot. But I thought all half his runs were intelligent. He was finding these tiny little pockets of space, doing the things that you would ordinarily say that Harvey Elliott was probably a little bit better than him at. I mean, Harvey's brilliant at that and obviously offers nowhere near the physicality. But I think the fact that we compressed it so much is the reason the midfield 3 were all insane for me Saturday. Got it back every single time. Gravenberch, we're used to seeing that with him. McAllister, recent weeks, I think his tackling and his counter pressing and winning the ball back have been even better than what they normally are, and he's a great midfielder anyway. But I think you can only play like that when you've got Konate, and that's the concern for me. I don't think Kwanzaa can do it, and I don't think Joe Gomez trusts his body as much now that he's probably got about 20 bolts in each knee, the amount of surgeries that man's had to come through. So I think you really have to keep Konate fit. I can't remember if it was Slot or Konate himself said we've rushed him or me back. And that's a real concern for me because he's the only one who can sort of let Trent or Bradley go whenever they want. He's so comfortable getting dragged out into that right back position. You can play in the halfway line because of the recovery pace. And for me, there's only 2 centre halves in our squad who you can confidently play that way with, and it is Konate and Van Dijk.
Yeah, it was just immense. And I was going to speak on the centre backs later on, because there is more attacking verve and a more attacking instinctive finishes, and like this finish. I don't know many players that do this kind of finish on a regular basis, Cav, for the second goal. I mean, Gakpo cuts in, and again, a few comparisons, and we'll get onto the comparisons of Gakpo and another Flying Dutchman in Arjen Robben. People are comparing him to, like, as in, you know what he's going to do, but try stopping it. But this time he cuts in and kind of plays a ball that frustrates some, because they think Salah's 5 foot something and Diaz is 5 foot something, I believe. Why are we cutting in and playing these kind of crosses? But I don't know, Salah's touch, is it a touch? Is it lucky? Is the finish lucky? Does he know what he's doing there? I think it's all calculated. I think nothing is lucky when Salah does that, because it's just, to me, it's one of those typical Mohamed Salah goals where the wider footballing world says, oh, lucky touch, oh, just a toe poke. Salah scores so many of those goals that this is what a goal scorer of elite standards and levels does. He does whatever needs to be done to make sure the ball ends up in the back of the net.
Yeah, it's absolutely calculated. He first of all, I think he anticipates that ball is coming over. One, because that's his movement, that's him as a player, has been consistently since he's joined Liverpool, is I'm going to be the guy that moves in that box. I want to be the guy that's on the end of things. I want to be in a position where I'm getting a chance. And also, it's Gakpo out on the left. If you watch him at his time before Liverpool, he did that quite a lot. He was the guy that was crossing that ball into the back stick. It seemed to be a favourable thing for him, probably because he likes to cut in on that right foot from the left wing position, and he's always shaping up for a shot, or he's looking to put the ball in the box. And that's the one that he seemingly tries more often than not, is that hitting that back stick. And he backs himself with his ability to, no matter how tall the player is, no matter who I'm aiming for, I'm going to put it in a position that you are able to go and get a chance on goal. And it's incredibly accurate. Do I think it's the right decision to make? I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. I think that there needs to be variety in your attack. So I'm okay with the ball going into the box now and then, but actually I'm not sure it was the way to go as a primary option to try and break Ipswich down. But we've already got the first goal. We can mix up our attacks. We can try find that pass if you think you're capable, and clearly he is. You know, next time if that pass doesn't that cross doesn't pay off, he can cut in and shoot, because you've given the Ipswich defenders something to think about. Do I drop off? Do I engage? So I'm all right with it. But turns out incredibly accurate. Salah, he does what Salah does, and you said it perfectly, Grizz. You know, anybody else looking at that doesn't watch Liverpool, that maybe sees some of the chances that Salah does miss, and then sees the goals that he does score, thinks, oh, maybe that's lucky. Yeah, it's lucky to everybody else. It's not lucky to Salah. That's what he does. You know, that's the type of finishes that we've all come to expect from him now, and it's so expected. And I was smiling because before he got that goal, he seemingly was having one of those games where he knew he was going to get chances, so he became a bit selfish. You know, I think there was one opportunity I can recall where he probably should have squared it. He decides to shoot, you know, and it gets saved. He was looking to cut in and shoot quite a lot in them early stages of the game, which is fine, because, you know, at some point one of them's going to pay off. But actually, you know, when he scored that one, I was like, okay, fine, he's got his goal. Now you can try and look for your teammates a bit more, and you can try and pick the right option more often than not. But it was a great cross. It was a great finish. And it's if I said to you, what if there's a goal between Salah and Gakpo, describe it now, it would be Gakpo chipping the ball into the back stick, or it would be Gakpo moving across the box and Salah's picking him out of a cross. They both look the same. That's just seemingly how those two link up. And I think they spoke about it not too long ago as well. Yes. I'm not sure. I think it was Gakpo that said, you know, I know that when Salah gets the ball, I just need to be moving, you know. And lo and behold, if you're a person that's joining Liverpool thinking you're going to play the left wing position, and you've just watched how Sadio Mane got his goals before, yeah, do exactly that. Make sure that if Salah picks the ball, move into that box, whether it's drift out to the back stick or it's get across your defender, whatever it is, move into that space into the box, because Salah will find you. And That's how it's usually gone about, but this time it roles reversed and he manages to pick him out. And I think, I can't remember who the player is, but there was one of our players, might have been Diaz, could have been Szoboszlai, that was just in front of Salah that maybe helped him with a bit of space as well, because the defender kind of got doubled up on with our two players. So maybe that aided him somewhat as well. But gets another goal. I think he goes above Thierry Henry now in all-time Premier League goal scorers list. I think you'll have to double check this, but I think that puts him 6th, maybe 7th. Yep. Incredible. Absolutely. We are witnessing a Premier League great. It's unbelievable to be able to say it, that we've witnessed this guy for so long. He's still here for this season, hopefully more, and he's still just producing. And I feel incredibly lucky to be able to witness a player like Salah, because he is quality. I don't care what people say. Look, the chances he gets when he plays at Liverpool, the output's the output. The guy is so consistent. Goals, assists, chance creation. It's him through and through. And just because I don't want to not get a chance to say this, his work rate was brilliant in that game as well. Fair play to, well, I shouldn't say fair play. It should be a standard for all of our players, but he was running back. You could clearly see that he wanted that clean sheet as well, because he knew he'd done his job up top. And he was tracking back so much to win that ball back. The counter press, Klopp would have absolutely have loved if he was watching. And Salah, who's the guy that's often doesn't feel the need to track back because everyone else does it for him, he was hang up top. No. He was running. He was working hard. He was making sure that team was getting its clean sheet. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out that way, but you could just tell he's enjoying his football, as the rest of them are. And it was a good goal. A nice day.
You can just imagine, can't you, guys, when Salah ran back, like Klopp, wherever he was, giving it the fist bump. Yeah. Like even if he was at a dinner table with his family, like he saw that and he went. And then
he'd have celebrated that more than the goal. He would have.
Celebrate more than we know Klopp celebrates a gegenpress more than a goal. You know, that's Jurgen Klopp for you. But Thomas, Camp made a very interesting point, and in terms of the patterns we're creating now in our attack and the variety of attack, because I think he's right. We've got a bit of symmetry in terms of when Salah cuts in, he always looks for Gakpo far post, or any said striker, whoever the striker is, peeling off to the far post, and Gakpo does the same on this. And then you've also we have, I think Andy touched upon, or I think someone touched upon it, the McAllister incisiveness as well now. We've spoken about the Szoboszlai incisiveness and the directness. We now have McAllister. And not only do we have McAllister, guys, we have our holding player, our DM, our 6. He has the amazing ability to turn a gegenpress or a receiving a ball under huge pressure into a turn and attacking the back four. The variety is scary now, isn't it, Tom?
I mean, that's what happens when you got the best midfield in the world. You might need to bring that champ back out round the cup. Just, change a couple of names and we'll be all right. No, I said, when we had that little wobble early this month where, you had United and you had Tottenham, I didn't think we played bad necessarily, but to me, it looked like we were trying to do something different. Something that, it felt like the first half of the season was very much, it was Klopp football with an Arnie Slot twist in certain elements.
I like that.
But I'd say the last 2 or 3 games, it's been more Arnie Slot football with a Jurgen Klopp twist. Because that Ipswich game for me, I know we scored early, so we never got in the same situation. But I'll use the Brentford one. We are not doing what we done against Nottingham Forest, which was it's not working, revert to type. 100 miles an hour, crosses into the box, this, that, and the other. Ipswich and Brentford was both a case of we're going to stick by the ideals. We're going to stick by what we are working on. We're going to stick by what the manager wants. We're going to be patient. We're going to try and break them down. And that's why I think we were so dominant against Ipswich. Obviously, it helps when you got, incredible midfielders that can do that for you. Anytime Ipswich tries to get it clear, Gravenberch was in the right spot with his go-go gadget legs and his wonderful turns to alleviate the pressure. McAllister, as a box, he's incredible. He doesn't, for someone who's so small, he doesn't half love a duel. He doesn't half love the physical side of the game, and he wins it more often than not. So, to me, I just think right now we're seeing more of what Arne Slot wants from his style of football bleed into the team. We're more controlled in nature. We're more, slow but methodical. It's a lot less, for lack of a better term, individual, and a lot more of a unit. And this is what I think we've been moving to. And that little wobble that we had earlier this month was just, teething problems that you're going to get when you're doing that. But now that we've got through it, I think the Brentford game was massive because it was the 3 points that we needed to show that it can work. And then you've seen Ipswich and Lille, just how good it can be when it gets going. So, I know we've got some really tough games coming up, but I like what I'm seeing off these past 2-3 games. I think that I think it's what Slot wants to see. And if it's what the manager wants to see, it's what I really want to see. And the fact is, all the players have taken to it like a duck to water, and you're starting to see those combinations, like you said. Gakpo back post cross to Salah. Ironically, it also works the other way as well, because if Salah cuts in from the right, he'll play that curl lofted cross to the back post, and Gakpo will be arriving at the back post to nod it in. And that combination has worked incredibly well this season. It's really impressive to watch. I think the only thing that I'm interested to see more of is the fullbacks. I want to see how we're going to incorporate the fullbacks. Obviously, I don't think he's 100% behind either fullback on the left, but I'm interested to see across the next, until the end of the season, going into next year, how the fullbacks get incorporated into the system, because it does seem at points that we're not utilising them to the fullest degree. Maybe it's because he wants to make sure we're not getting hit on the counter-attack. But with the amount of talent that we've got in wide defensive areas, especially going forward, I think that's the last element that needs to be utilised. And then you've got, for me, the perfect system for this current crop of players.
As Horm Ali says, I'm listening to these guys talk and I'm really enjoying it. And he's right. It's an elite conversation where I'm speaking the least, and that's the best way. So smash the likes for the guys. Andy, the third goal is the Gakpo one, isn't it? And obviously, a couple of minutes on Gakpo. Now, we've spoken about Szoboszlai and we've spoken about a few others. Gakpo was coming into his own as well. We spoke about sort of the Szoboszlai is the problem solver. How would we describe Gakpo then? Because he's coming up clutch. Is that the word, Tom, that the youngsters use these days? Coming up clutch, getting in there. He's coming up clutch time and time again, Andy. Again, very much like you in terms of Szoboszlai, Gakpo was my frustrating guy last season. Admittedly, and I'm absolutely big enough to admit that I didn't think that highly of him when we signed him. I thought he's a very basic player with an amazing shot technique, and obviously I got that part right. But what I underestimated hugely and massively, and humble pie has been eaten alive, is the intelligence of this guy and his ability to adapt and learn new roles and positions, and just his game intelligence. I've found it to be amazing, Andy.
I think you can see, and I know pitch intelligence is different to actual intelligence some of the time. I mean, Cole Palmer looks like a very intelligent player on the pitch, and let's not say too much about off the pitch. However, when you watch Cody Gakpo, and he does loads of media, he does loads of interview stuff, does loads of the mixed zone, you can tell, especially for somebody speaking in the second language as well, he speaks so articulately about how we play, about his role, about other players' roles. He seems like he's a real leader in that team in many different ways. The players all like him. They're all delighted for him. And it wouldn't surprise me if they still do something along the lines of a leadership group where there's 4 or 5 players there who are the link between the players and the manager, or who sort of set the standards day in, day out in the dressing room and in the changing room. If Gakpo isn't in that, it wouldn't surprise me if he's in and around that, to be quite honest. I think he's a really intelligent guy. And in terms of how you would describe him, I think one of the concerns for me, obviously, when we lost Sadio Mane, was that we were relying on sort of 15, 20 goals, give or take, on average from Salah and Mane every season, because Firmino wasn't necessarily going to always be the 20-goal-a-season striker. I don't think he ever hit 20 goals in a Premier League season. Firmino, it could be wrong. But we weren't getting big numbers in terms of goals off our strikers. So the two wingers had to contribute that. And with the loss of Mane, we know Diaz probably doesn't quite do the same numbers as what Mane did. But Gakpo this season is the numbers man. He's had his 14th goal of the season, all competitions. He's chipping in with different types of goals. You know, the third goal is a tap in, but I always maintain that there's a reason unintelligent players don't score tap ins. It's not just pure luck like that. He's scoring goals with his head. He gets one on Saturday. He gets one against Madrid. I'm sure he's got others there that I've forgotten about. Different types of goals. You mentioned the shot that he has. You know, he's just got so many facets to his game. And I think it was the Fulham match I was at, and the guy beside me was getting very frustrated with him and saying how predictable he was. And obviously, when Gakpo has a bad game, the same thing that he does over and over and over again doesn't work, and you could throw that predictability argument at him. But I think it was Cav was saying earlier on about that ball to the back post, which just evades the fullback. It is so dangerous, and it's also a cross that Arne Slot loved when he was at Feyenoord. You look at some of the highlights, the number of times there was a sort of floated back post cross from the winger who'd cut inside was insane. And I don't think there's anyone better in the league from the left hand side of doing it than Cody Gakpo. I'd say the only competition he has in that regard is probably Salah, who's lethal from crossing from that position as well. So I just think he's got so much to his game. And he's really nailed down that left-hand side position now.
Yeah.
I suppose at the start of the season, you would have said it was Diaz left, Salah right, and Jota through the middle. And obviously, we don't know what happens when Jota's back and he's fully fit and he's firing. However, I think the question would be Diaz or Jota rather than Gakpo or Jota at this point.
Agreed.
Because Cody Gakpo is just undroppable at the moment. And yeah, I'm so excited to see what this guy can do again. With the head on his shoulders and with the intelligence, you probably think he's a little bit older than what he is. He is still not in his prime. He's loads of years ahead of him and doesn't rely on pace as well, which is very exciting because those players tend to adapt and play for longer. He was never a left winger on a club side, and nobody without that searing pace was a left winger on a club side. So I was extolling the virtues of Gakpo through the middle. I think it works for maybe a 3-month period when he first comes in. And I've historically not been a big Núñez fan, so I think again some affinity and a bit of a relationship with Gakpo as a result of that direct competition. But you know, it's very clear he's not that central player. He's not a midfielder as he was tried at the start of last season. He's not a striker. He is a left winger, but not in the club side. And yeah, what a player! What a player! And we've mentioned some players there who maybe have come into form at different times of the season. You know, Curtis Jones came in, had a great month or two, got injured, then Szoboszlai's back in and he's in form. You know, McAllister's chipped in with a couple of goals. Gakpo's actually just been a really consistent player for us all year. And you need a bit of both. You need that consistency in the numbers. You need those players who are performing every week. And then your horses for courses players, you can pick who's in form and when. But for me, Gakpo's a level above that this year.
Yeah,
I think as well is defensive work. I know it's I remember last year the reason he wasn't getting played as much was because defensively Jurgen Klopp didn't feel like he was helping the team out as much, and it was better to have a Diaz or a Núñez on the left who were more reliable defensively. But this year, obviously, we're doing this weird sort of, at points anyway, this weird sort of system where he drops into the midfield line and Szoboszlai jumps up to form the 4-3-3 or 4-4-2 or whatever it is. You know, people who are smart at football will know exactly what it is, but I'm not. But when he's back there, the amount of defensive work he gets through, the amount of closing down, the amount of shuttling, the amount of covered on ground that he does, teams don't attack down that side. They'll try it 2 or 3 times, they won't get through, and then they'll go to the other side where, you know, there is a little bit more space to get at because the gap between Salah and Trent is bigger and we commit our right centre mid into the front line. You know, maybe that's the next phase of the Slot evolution. But I think you look at Gakpo's work defensively, rightly so, we're talking about how good he's attacking wise. I think that's the 7th Anfield game in a row we scored in or something. Like, it's a ridiculous stat. And he's always been the guy. If Diaz and Gakpo were to end the season on the same amount of goals, it would be Gakpo has scored a goal, then a goal, then a goal, and a goal, then a goal, and a goal. Diaz would get 3 in 1, miss 2 games, get one, miss two. Gakpo's always been the more consistent one. Now that you have the defensive side of it, now that you added to the defensive side of his game, I don't see many left wingers in the league more complete than him.
Do you know what? Can I add?
He's only 24 is scary. But everyone else
And I want to add to this point as well, because you talk about his work rate and his defensive work rate. The thing that I like about him is physically he's so strong.
Much stronger. He wasn't in his first season for someone so tall, vertically.
Yeah, he was.
I just feel as though he's broadened out, and I think he's utilizing it much more. You're right.
Yeah, because like he's got the skin fade now. He's growing the beard out. He looks like he's put a bit of muscle on. But there was the game where we played Man City, and he's just roughing up Kyle Walker, who's no slouch himself. He's a physical guy, tries to get touch tight. And the one thing that, I mean, that game for me was like, wow, I knew he was strong, but that was a standout performance. But one thing for me when Mane was going, I thought we were losing such an incredible player. Obviously, he sort of died down a little bit towards the end. He weren't the player that he was in his prime at Liverpool. But the one thing that you always got at Mane was work rate and aggression. Like, you would have hated to have defended Mane because he could take you on either way. He could beat you with just a touch, and he could get in at the back post. His movement was great, but physically, you would hate to get touch tight with him. You would hate to physically have to try and win the ball off this guy. And the one thing I was really worried about when we was going in for forwards was that I didn't want us to become a timid team. You can get technical players, you can get speedy players, but we've for so long been so used to having aggression as well in our side, physically demanding players, as well as them being technically great. And Cody Gakpo is just grown into that role. Like you said, Grizz, probably didn't have it when he first joined, but now it seems like if Trent wants to play that raking diagonal ball, it don't matter if the fullback's still in position, because Cody's going to physically hold his ground, and he's going to, he'll if he doesn't win the ball in the air, he'll pin the defender and let the ball go over his head, and then he's got the pace to still get on the end of it. And I just love that he's got that physicality, because I think it's something that most of our team do have, and it's quite often not spoken about. Is we talk about technical ability, we talk about patterns of play, we talk about work rate and everything else, but physically we are quite a commanding side. When you think about the two centre backs, Kanate, Virgil, you think about McAllister for a small guy, how hard he is to dispossess and how engaging he is when challenges. Gravenberch never shirks a challenge, and he does it in a slightly different way. He's aggressive. We've just spoken about Szoboszlai. And then you've got Cody Gakpo. Salah can't be moved as long as you get the ball into his feet. You ain't shifting him. And Diaz works hard as well. And we just have such aggression and physical strength in our side, which goes some way, because if you can work on the football, and then you've just got that as well, and you become such a rounded squad. I remember in the title-winning season, I was watching one of the Monday Night Football things, and they said that the thing about this Liverpool side is, as good as they are at everything, you're in for a game. Every single team knew they were in for a game, and I love that. I love that, because I want to be a team that people don't want. Oh, we've got Liverpool this weekend. Yeah. Because you're going to be in for a physical battle. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to give everything to even compete with this side, and match them up for physicality and work rate. And players like Cody Gakpo, it won't be their highlighted thing, because he's getting goals, he's getting assists, he's working hard, he's defensive. But I also like that they've got these things as well. And I think fair play to him. I do think he has the ability to sort of coast a little bit in games. I find he still has these games where he goes missing a little bit. And I'm curious to see if Salah moves on, how much players like him can step up and be the main creative outlet, because let's face it, Salah's still that guy. But we shall see. And let's just live in the optimism of, if Salah does move on, that these guys will just step up another level even more so. And like you said, I like that you mentioned his leadership, Andy, because that's certainly something I felt as well, is that if Salah goes, if Trent goes, if Virgil goes, Robertson moves on, you've lost the whole core of that leadership group. And you're going to need players that have been here for a little bit of time, but also so confident in their ability, calm, intelligent, that can lead Liverpool, not just on the pitch, but off it. And not just lead, but lead in the right way, lead in the correct manner. You don't always have to be the guy that's barking at everybody. Sometimes you just need to be the calm head that other players know they can turn to. And Cody Gakpo kind of fits that bill for me. So he could be he could be definitely a contender for one of the leaders in the future.
It does feel like we're building that next leadership group as well. If you look at the squad, it does feel like that next leadership group is coming through. Canate, he seems to be a leader in the French national squad. I know Conor Bradley captains Northern Ireland, Gakpo,
Harvey Elliott as well.
Elliott, I think Curtis Jones will probably step up into that mould as well. I think McAllister's another one who I think is more of a leader on the pitch. With what
absolutely
he
is. They all are. They all are. It's amazing how many leaders and captains we've got throughout this throughout the team and squad, and they all seem to be cut from the same cloth in terms of they're very calm and methodical in their leadership style. There's no real shouters and bellowers and kind of emotional type leaders. You get two types of leaders. They all seem to be.
We've not got Jamie Carragher's in the squad.
We haven't got any Jamie Carragher's.
Bruno Fernandez's.
Yeah, Bruno Fernandez's, for example. Yeah, and there's not many that go around fist pumping the crowd and emotional like some Arsenal fellas, that we see on our screens now and again. But it just personifies the coach. I feel it personifies the calmness, the assuredness. Personifies how Slot comes across, and it's have a soothing effect. Cav, how many shows have we done this season where I've said I was so calm in the ground? I'm normally nervous as the best example was the Emirates trip. Arsenal. I'm so nervous when I go to the Arsenal, but I was so calm. I just had this, and even the Man United game. It's one of the most nervous games, regardless of how shit they are. We always a bag of nerves, but his calmness. And I guess one of the calmest guys we have in our team currently, and we hope and pray continues to be in our team moving forward. And he is a certain Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I spoke about the tweet. I tweeted something along the lines of another laser-assisted missile of an assist that is not spoken about. It's just normalized, Andy. We've spoken about it on our show, and I want to get your opinion on it as well, because first time we're speaking to you on the show, and the world just normalizes this guy from right back that has the passing ability, and I have no shame in comparing him in terms of technique and passing ability to the greats. And I'm talking Kevin De Bruyne, I'm talking Steven Gerrard, I'm talking Xabi Alonso, I'm talking Beckham. This guy is on a par with them in terms of technique and precision when he's on his game.
There's no doubt about that. I think when Trent Alexander-Arnold has a good game, he's the best player on the pitch for me. I think his 9 out of 10 game is better than Salah's 9 out of 10 game, is better than McAllister's, is better than even Virgil's or Alisson's. I know that's barely comparable, but he just does things when you're in the ground and you don't see it yourself. I was row 81 of the upper main on Saturday, and the frustrating thing about being up there is very often you can see the pass that the players at pitch level can't quite see, and obviously they don't have the luxury of that high pitch view. But Trent Alexander-Arnold sees passes that even in row 81 of the main stand we can't see. I thought that was the case for his assist for Gakpo. I didn't think that was on in any way, shape, or form. Certainly the trajectory he puts on the ball is just something that even any sort of average right back having put in a lucky cross can't match that trajectory. It's just something that some players have and some players don't. Well, very, very few players do have it, and Trent is one of them. I think there's one as well, second half, where he hits the post, but that shot's not on either. That's not a shooting position as far as I'm concerned. Certainly the way he dug it out of his feet was just next level. And there's no doubt about it, with the ball at his feet, he is a generational talent, and he's come in for a lot of criticism recently. I was in the ground for the United game where there were people around me giving him abuse. It did turn toxic, and there's an extent to which, if you're Trent Alexander-Arnold and your style is a little bit languid and can come across as a bit lazy sometimes, I don't think it is, but I can see why, to the naked eye, for somebody who doesn't watch Liverpool every week, that could have come across as lazy. And then when you're sort of messing around in public over the contract, I can understand why there was frustration. He doesn't have a good game that day as well. And I don't think it really helps him in that regard that Connor Bradley's almost the complete opposite. Bradley, I'm his biggest fan. Tom's right. He's not been officially named captain in Northern Ireland yet, but it looks like it's certainly going that way. He did captain in a couple of games recently, but I love that man, but he doesn't have anywhere near the quality on the ball that Trent Alexander-Arnold has. There's just no doubt about it. However, in terms of his tenacity and his sprinting back and almost looking like a bit of a tryhard compared to Trent, who's so cool, calm, collected, tries to keep a high position up the pitch in case we win it back a lot of the time. That hasn't helped him really either, because Bradley came in and had a great game against Spurs, I felt, in the League Cup. So, yeah, but when Trent's on it in a game like yesterday, where there's maybe not as much going the other way, he doesn't have to be as concerned with it. And I think the key player to unlocking the best out of Trent is Ibrahim Konate on that side. And the fact that he almost doesn't have to worry because Konate is so comfortable getting dragged out. I mean, yeah, that's the key for me. And you guys have probably done the contracts to death. I know I have on podcasts, and it is a little bit boring at this point. We all just want to know what's going to happen. But I've got a feeling that all three are going to sign, and I think losing Trent would be more crucial and would be a far bigger gap than people give credit for. The drop off to Connor Bradley would be vast, because you're talking about a very, very good young player with lots of potential there, versus the best right back in the world, versus one of the best with the ball at his feet of all time. And to lose him for nothing would just be heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. I think heartbreaking would have been, like, I don't know what I would have done if that ball reached Diaz. Like Red Zabi says, that almost assist to Diaz would have been pass of the seasons. I mean, do you guys know the one we're referring to, talking about here, right? On the volley.
Yeah, end of the first half. Yeah, unbelievable.
Lord have mercy. I mean, who attempts that? I mean, Cafu attempts that. Roberto Carlos used to attempt it quite on a regular, right? On the other side. I don't know who else attempts that. Zidane maybe attempts that in world footballing terms. Like, who attempts something like that? And it was just like few inches. It was just curving away from Luis Diaz. Otherwise, that would have been sensational. But yeah, look, we spoke about sort of, I guess, all four goals. I mean, have the goal at the end we conceded. You could see Virgil and Mo, the leaders, the professionals, the sense of disappointment in conceding a goal. And I'm loving this desire to be perfect, because it's going to hold us in good stead.
Mm-hmm. It was a little bit frustrating, not because it would have affected the game, affected the result, although Ipswich had a little bit, I think, coincides with the substitutes that we made. They had a little bit more confidence about them. They played a little bit more football towards the end of the game, but it was never going to amount to nothing. The goal we conceded was never going to amount to nothing. But I just felt to me that the players felt like that was such an inch perfect 90 minutes of football, almost, that the goal would have just took a little bit of the shine off of it, because Tom said earlier, we limited them to one shot that was barely even a shot. It was literally the most dominant football game you've ever seen. And this is a Premier League side. They may go back down. You can think what you want of them, but they are, for this season, a Premier League team. And they've had a few good results this season. And we absolutely dominated. And I think the players just really wanted that inch perfect performance display where we scored 4 goals, we got a clean sheet, we limited them to one chance. They probably even left their own half about a handful of times as well. I don't know. And I think they really wanted that. And I almost think that after conceding them sloppy goals recently, where they're so avoidable with a little bit more effort, a little bit more concentration. It's not for a lack of effort. It's not for maybe a little bit of lack of effort in the moment, but it's not for a lack of quality. It's just literally just not being sharp in that one moment. And it's the one moment they get and the score. It's happened again. I think it was just a frustration. And you could see Salah sort of throw his arms in the air and stuff and think, come on. But like you say, Grizz, that's exactly the attitude. That's exactly the response you want to see from these players. It shows you how much they want to strive for that perfection and how much they want then this league title. you know, they want to dominate, they want to be perfect because they know that's what it takes to go on and be worthy champions. And it was a nice, it weren't nice to concede, but it was a nice response from the players to get that wound up by it. And I think when Virgil's putting in these kinds of performances, he deserves a clean sheet. Come on, the guy. I mean, at one point he just flicked it, as we've seen before. He's being pressed.
Almost his signature. That's his signature move.
Just,
like when he sides head it back to the keeper, but instead he flips it back, and the striker or the forward is like made to look silly, like stopping in mid stride, like, oh, I was supposed to chase that back to the keeper. Instead, Virgil's flicked it back and moved on.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, you know, that's probably the first time they've ever seen a player ever even do that or attempt that. That's what you're competing with Virgil. He is honestly just, I know we're just going to end up repeating ourselves, but just incredible. I mean, at the start of today's game, I mentioned how Delap caused his problems first game of the season. Instantly, Virgil was aggressive, stepping in maybe 2-3 yards ahead of where we probably would want to be. But his mantra going into that game, he obviously knew what he had to do for this game to stop Delap, and it was aggressive from the very moment, win that first header, no matter where it is on the pitch, no matter where that ball's dropping, whether it's deep towards our goal or whether it's completely in the midfield area, I'm winning that header, and we're just going to dominate, and we're just going to set a precedence. And he did that, and he was incredible. And I think that, like I say, he deserved, as did the whole team. But for me, I always look to our captain. I look to the guy that's leading the back, and I think he deserved that clean sheet. But it wasn't to be, and I'm sure they'll come because, you know, we cut out them one chance that the team seemed to be getting against us, it seemed to be scoring, and we're gonna end up getting these clean sheets. We've got a tough game against PSV, and then, well, not so much PSV, but Bournemouth afterwards, who ran out 5-0 winners at the weekend as well. We'll need a clean sheet to overcome them, I think. But just quickly, Grizz, because I had to, coming on today's show, I had to mention this in the game, right? Ryan Gravenberch, for the second game running, did this bit of skill where he received the ball. As he's turning, he drags the ball, and as the opposition steps in, he quickly flicks it away from him. And I seen him do it against Brentford, and I thought, oh wow, I just had glimpses back to Zidane, right? Zidane. And I just thought he's got that much skill that but it could be a fluke, you know, like he just flicked it and it just looked good. And then he did it against Ipswich, and I was like, this is ridiculous. This guy is absolutely ridiculous. The amount of technical ability that he was showing in that game yet again is just crazy, absolutely crazy. And when he took that, he did so many things well, but that moment in particular where the ball comes into him, he drags it as he's turning, but as he's turning on the 180, he quickly then flicks it away from the guy that's pressing him. And the guy's behind him, by the way. I just thought, you know what? When we were so good under Klopp and we had this workman-like midfield, right, which we've spoken to death, right, the hard-working midfield of Fabinho, Gini, and Henderson, we prayed for technical ability. We were like, I know what we've got's good, and I know we're in Champions League finals, and I know we're competing for league titles, but give us some sauce in midfield, please. Can we have some technical ability as well, please? Right? We've got that now.
There you go. There's another word there. Sauce, clutch. I told you, we're moving with the times.
Honestly, I've watched so many teams. I've watched so many good Liverpool teams, but I've watched so many good teams in general where they have these midfielders with so much tech. And I'm like, I just want one of them at Liverpool, please. And seemingly now,
Thiago was supposed to be that guy, right? We were supposed to change mold and style with the signing of Thiago, and obviously injuries and the hips didn't lie ultimately. So we had to put an end to that.
Imagine Thiago in this team.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
Imagine if we could have just wheeled out Thiago, Ipswich at home.
Well, I'll let you into a little secret, Tom. I don't think I ever got over Coutinho leaving, and I know we shouldn't say his name. He faked back injury, went and whatever, right?
No, we can say his name.
But I loved Coutinho. I love the ability that he's shown, and I've always felt since he's left. I hated him when he left, right? But I loved him as well, right? And I always felt that there was a place for him in every single Liverpool team that went after him, right? apart from now. Now I'm like, you know what, Coutinho, I'm good. There's no place for a player like you now. There probably is, but there's no place for you now. I don't want you anymore because what I've got with technical ability wise for the rest of the midfielders, I'm good with, and it's scratched an itch for me, Ryan Gravenberch. It's given me peace, Grizz. You don't realize how much peace Gravenberch has given me.
It was just. It was
I was going to say, may you rest in peace, but that's not quite the phrase that I should be using in this situation. But guys, we've got to move on. It's supposed to be an hour show, and I promised Andy it won't go more than an hour. Andy, I do apologize. It's going a couple of minutes over time.
I'm in no rush. As long as it starts after 7, I'm fine, Grizz.
The chat is so enjoyable, and people in the chat are amazing. The comments after comments, I can't keep up, guys. I'm slow with technology at the best of times, so I can't bring up all the. You're absolutely flying in the comments and seemingly enjoying it. So let's get to 200 likes. That would be amazing. Tom Little, I know you like footballers from around Europe, and you are a bit of a scout. So you think at times, and you like to think you know your European footballers. Well, there was a young European footballer at Anfield on Saturday. Did we play? By the name of Gerald Hato, a Dutch. Is he a Dutch international? Has he represented the national team at full level? I am not sure. But either way, fantastic prospect. Unfortunately, wasn't a club visitor, wasn't a club guest, but was a guest of Gravenberch, which is still positive, which is still encouraging. I tweeted back in November that I believe we have scouted him very, very heavily during the summer, and then it was assumed that he's off to Arsenal, but then they signed Calafiori, and I believe we think we have as good a chance as anybody as recruiting him again now because of the Calafiori signing. Your thoughts on Hato? Obviously, doesn't mean much that he's at Anfield or whatever, he's having a weekend off, but in terms of the player and the profile.
I think he's such an interesting profile. This is a guy who has the build of a centre-back, but the technical ability of a high-flying left-back. You know, he's got 6 goal contributions in the league for Ajax this season, 2 goals, 4 assists. When you're looking at the areas which Liverpool need to address, if you were to ask what's the top 3 positions, most people would have centre-back and left-back in that top 3. And he addresses 2 of them. Yeah. And you get the benefit of he can be an instant solution at left back, whilst also learning from, you know, the best centre half in the Premier League for fingers crossed the next 2-3 years. And then when it's time for Van Dijk to move on, all of a sudden you've got a Jarell Hato at 23, 24 stepping into centre back to partner Ibrahim Konate. And in that time, you also found your new left back. It could just be the ultimate succession plan for what we need to do in the next 2-3 years. I think he's such an exciting player, so mature for his age. You know, he's played a lot of games in that Ajax team, and he stood. Albeit this Ajax team isn't, you know, one of the great Ajax teams, but arguably that makes what he's doing a little bit more impressive because he's had to perform and had to keep a high level in a team that's misfiring, in a team that hasn't reached, you know, the high levels that club is used to. But, you know, Jarell Hato's not one of those ones who's, you know, never sort of made it there or never not, you know, hit those standards, should I say. The only question mark you'd have about him is his height. You know, I think he's 6'1". He might be 6 foot, 6'1". He's not, you know, Van Dijk levels of tall or Ibrahim Konate levels of tall. He's like the level below that. And if you think Liverpool need a taller centre back, then that's fine. I think that ultimately, at 6 foot, you know, I think if we end up, you know, developing him the correct way, I don't think that'd be much of an issue. He doesn't really get dominated aerially now, albeit, you know, in the Dutch league there's not many bruising target forwards. But I don't think it will be much of an issue because you got to bear in mind he's 20. He's still got so much time to go in his development. So I think that it's something that the club should be looking at 100% in the summer. And because of his age, because of his profile, he doesn't need to come in and start every game week in, week out. If you bring in I think Liverpool should go after Miguel Gutierrez from Girona. I think he fits exactly what Arne Slot wants from a fullback. If you get him in and have Jarell Hato as cover for multiple positions, all of a sudden you're looking at a left-hand side which is really, really secure for a good number of years now. So I know that there's nothing in the Gravenberch inviting him because I think they've played together for the Dutch under-21 team and the Dutch senior team. I think he's made 5 appearances for the senior team. So, he is a fully capped international now. But I hope there's something in there. I really, really do. I think that addresses multiple positions.
I'm not going to ask Cav and Andy unless they want to give some input into this player. I'm going to move swiftly on. But what I will say is, for me, I know there's chat of Kerkez and there's chat of Robinson from Fulham and there's chat of Lukeba from Leipzig and who else has been linked? Gutierrez from Girona. For me, go and secure. Go and do what you need to do to go and get Hato. And so I think there's a fellow selection in the chat that said, wouldn't want him at centre-back. Tom, I wouldn't want him at centre-back. I think he's the modern-day hybrid left-back stroke centre-back if we need to play him centre-back. But he would be the modern-day perfect Arne Slot fullback. I hope we can secure him over the summer. I am so excited with this link. Honestly, like I think he's one of the best talents out there. He's genuinely will be world class, and I want him to be a Liverpool player. That's how much I rate him. Kerkez has attributes: brilliant, fighty, gritty, tenacious tackler, powerful. I like that. Robinson as well in his own right, and Lukeba, all of the other linked players. But this guy, profile-wise, for me, covers every aspect. But we must move on because we have PSV. I don't want to waste too much time on PSV either, guys. Are we all in agreement, or is there anyone who's going against the grain and says that Virgil, Salah, Gravenberch should be on that plane even?
I think the issue, if they're on the plane, because I think they might have flown out already. They're flying out possibly tomorrow. Is that if you don't take them on the plane, they're literally training once before Bournemouth, which would be Friday.
Right.
That would be the concern for that. The other thing you have to remember, and I don't subscribe to this as a supporter, and I don't think anyone should subscribe to it as a supporter, because for me, if it gives us a 0.01% better chance of beating Bournemouth, I would play the 4 of us on Wednesday night, to be completely honest. However, there will be a little bit of pressure from above because there is serious money in winning any match in the Champions League. I know.
Get the FSG out. Weirdos in the chat, but here we go. All right.
Well, we are talking more than 1% of Liverpool's overall turnover now. Like I say, I would much rather win the League Cup than win against PSV on Wednesday night. Of course I would. But winning against PSV on Wednesday night is worth about 25 times the money than winning the entire League Cup. So there will be conversations from above saying you can't go out and play the kids on Wednesday night. Don't forget as well, we've got Plymouth coming up at some stage in the future where you definitely can rest those players. So I think there will be that conversation. They will want to obviously finish top of the group, even though that actually makes no odds between finishing first and second. I think the record we've had so far, the games we've put in, we broke some sort of record for goals conceded in the Champions League from, I think, the 3rd minute in Milan in the first game to when Jonathan David scored last Tuesday night. It was nearly like 6 hours of football, which is something ridiculous. So yeah, we know that Slot's rhythm over rotation, he's more about getting minutes into these players' legs, and I would definitely sort of go down the line of maybe give McAllister 45 and Gravenberch 45. I would be making some subs at half time, but I think the idea that you're going to see 11 changes, much as that's what I would do because I only care about Liverpool winning the league and I couldn't care less what money goes into FSG's pockets personally. I think it's unrealistic to say
LFC Mad, you have picked my preferred 11. Andy has just dispelled that theory that we won't get that team because I think that is the team with us 4 on the subs bench. Any objections have?
Yeah, I should be starting. Don't put me on the bench.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, I'm with you. Maybe I'd like to see Dan's in there as well.
Ah.
Comes on as a sub in the last game. Seems to be working his way in, obviously doing something right to impress the manager. He's impressed me. I'd like to see him where possible. But he's obviously doing the right things to impress Slot, because Slot does have Nunes on the bench. He doesn't need to put Dan's on there. He has Chiesa on the bench. He doesn't need to put Dan's there, but he did, and he brought him on. Not for many minutes, but he brought him on. So clearly he's in the thinking, he's about. I think the fact that Chiesa come on as well and has been coming on, not for many minutes, but he seems to be getting sharper and sharper. He seems to be sort of gaining that fitness back. Not in the last game, but the game prior, showing some real sharpness to create a yard and get a shot away. Doesn't look as timid as he maybe did when we've seen him before. So I think it'd be nice to see him get a few more minutes. Whether he could start, I'm not too sure. Might be a bit of a leap, but I would like to see him. I'm really eager to see Chiesa play a bit more. So I'd like to see him. And the other main thing for me is I'd like to see Gravenberch get a rest. I think, yes, I'm with you. The money, yes, keeping rhythm. I'm with it all. But McAllister had a bit of a time off, and he actually went on holiday and what have you. So Szoboszlai has through injury. Gravenberch is the one player in our midfield that works so hard that has yet to get any kind of break. And I just think that Endo comes in, he can do a fine job there. He's not going to be your Gravenberch, but I don't think we necessarily need that in that game. We can just put in an experienced guy in Endo, as long as he's all right, because he did get booted in the face at the weekend. Just give Gravenberch the night off. Leave him at home. I hear what you're saying, Andy, about the one training session, but just give him that rest. And obviously, if he doesn't, I'll just trust in the fact that these guys know what they're doing. They've got records and stats and data on all of his recovery and what he's capable of. If they put him in, they clearly feel like he can. I'm not going to moan too much, but I do just kind of feel like got some really important fixtures for the remainder of the season. He's already played quite a bit. He's the one guy I'd just like to see get a little bit of a rest. And I would rest him in that game and the Plymouth game you mentioned, and play him in every other game because he's that good. So yeah, I think we'll go strong. I think we'll probably do the 45 switch like Andy says. Hopefully we win. We keep that momentum going because, like I say, Bournemouth is suddenly now looks like a really tough fixture because they're going really well and they had a really good result, which they'll be bouncing. And I think we're at their ground as well, aren't we? So it makes it a tough fixture.
Who would have thought, hey? Who would have thought that Forest away, Brentford away, and Bournemouth away in pretty much consecutive weeks will be the defining part of Liverpool's season, hey? Who would have thought that? Because that's the way it's panning out, guys. That's the way it's panning out. Brentford away, dealt with. Nottingham Forest away, shake on that. Bournemouth away is going to be a whole different kettle of fish. And I think we're going to dedicate a special show to that game because I'm running out of time and Big Six is on in 5 minutes. And if I'm late, I get fined and I can't afford fines. I literally can't afford fines. So I will be there on time. People in the chat are going to start reminding me very soon. Tom, is there anything that you care about that you want to speak on in the last couple of minutes that I may have missed according to your wisdom?
No, I mean, did you want that graphic of the Klopp start last season compared
Wait
to
too late. We will dedicate that show. We will mix that with the Bournemouth preview and talk about sustainability and how we can sustain and actually get over the line this time. But thanks for reminding me because we must speak on that. Cav, Tom, as usual, thank you. But a special thank you to Andy and hopefully, fingers crossed, if we didn't piss you off too much, get you on more often as well.
Absolutely, that will be a pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Big up Grizz, Cav, Tom, and Andy. Big up the chat. Big up the chat, guys. Still over 400 of you guys from the very off. We appreciate the love and support. And yeah, listen. Wow, it's getting. I don't want to use Fergie's squeaky bum time quote because we're Liverpool and we don't want to use that. But it's cloppage time. Let's just use cloppage time. Or Arnie Slot. We'll think of something that Arnie Slot may use and say. He hasn't got a catchphrase, has he, per se, yet? Is there a Slot catchphrase?
That's homework. That's homework for next show. We've got to bring.
We've got to think of a Slot catchphrase.
The Arnie Slot catchphrase is Nottingham Forest.
Yeah,
that's all he goes on about.
Every occasion he just uses Nottingham Forest. But people, smash the like on your way out. Subscribe if you haven't. Go and follow these good people on their social media networks and listen to their amazing insights into all things Liverpool and football, maybe on the whole. And from me, it's peace, love, and tranquility to all. Take care. Bye-bye.